If you're a late bloomer when it comes to saving for retirement, is there still time to salvage your golden years? Here to give us a glimpse of how troubling a late start can be is Jim Yee, financial educator and founder of retirehappy.ca. Nice to have you on our show once again, Jim.
Thanks, Shauna. Nice to be back.
So how late is too late to start saving for retirement, or is it ever too late?
Yeah, well, I think here's where the cliches start, right? It's never really too late, and the best time to start is sooner than later. So something's better than nothing, and so I think most people feel like they're pressured to save, and so it's a normal feeling. But I've seen 40-year-olds who all of a sudden get stressed and they really want to get going, and I've seen 50-year-olds who maybe go through a divorce or make bad financial decisions, and then they're just needing to really jumpstart that whole savings program. So it's possible, no matter what age you are, it's important to do some planning and get started with savings.
How common is this for people to start later in life these days?
Yeah, probably too common. Yeah. I think that we all feel pressured to save in some way, shape, or form. I think most people feel like they're behind. I think it's tough, like if you think of the proverbial life path, you start as a student, a poor student who has no money, and then you get a job, and then sometimes you're paying back the student loans that got you poor in the first place, and then you go through like significant expensive life milestones, like getting married, having kids, getting a mortgage, and buying a house, and so by the time you get all that going, you're probably into your 30s, if not 40s, and so yeah, it's common.
You're not thinking about it until then. Then you go, as you said, oh no, I better be doing this. So how do strategies then change for saving when you do it later?
Well, I think that it really does depend on your circumstances. Obviously the easy thing is to spend less, save more. We've heard that many times. Spending less can be a simple strategy because it requires you to actually save less for the future. So those are the traditional ones. I think less common are things like downsizing. Is becoming more, so if you're short money and you've worked hard to pay off your house, you got equity in the house, that's an option. I think one of the most common options now is just working longer. We've heard of Freedom 55, but sometimes early retirement's not all it's cracked up to be, and people jokingly talk about Freedom 85, and I don't think it's that bad, but there's nothing wrong with retiring in your 60s and even your late 60s, because today, the retiree today is younger than we've ever seen before. And I'm not talking younger by age, I'm talking younger physically, mentally, intellectually. The 65-year-old is capable of so much more than the 65-year-old, 30, 40 years ago. So, yeah, and so, it's important to think about, save more, yes, but there are other strategies to help you with retirement these days.
And I know it can be confusing to put together a retirement income plan later in life because there's so many different factors. It's so different for everybody, isn't it? But
yes.
Their circumstances are.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, for example, if you have lots of debts, that's going to make saving a little more difficult. So that's a factor. If you have a pension, there's still people with these old classic defined benefit plans, and if you have a good pension, then you don't have to save as much. Do you have dependents? Did you have kids at a later age? Did you get married, divorced, second marriages? So yeah, there are so many factors that go into retirement planning. Don't fall into convention. Really think about your own circumstances and what you really need, not general rules of thumb. So.
And if you have left it a little later, you have to be prepared to compromise, don't you?
You do, you do, yeah. And the most common compromise, as we've talked about, is spend less, save more. But it's no different than, I always joke around about, my wife's a dietitian, and we talk about losing weight, and I could stand to do a better job at it. But at the end of the day, if you're overweight by 10 pounds, you don't have to work as hard. But if you're overweight by 30 to 50 pounds, you got to really get cracking on that. And financially, this is no different, right? If you're late and you've got issues, like you got to get cracking on paying down that debt. You got to figure out how to save more. And the compromise comes, the consequences coming from your actions 10, 15, 20 years ago. So yeah, get a plan, get cracking, get motivated, and
but don't do it alone.
Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, we always talk about, we always end with this, right? So yeah, you get help. You know, if you need help, get help. It's no different than if you need a personal trainer for your health or a dietitian, you go get help. If you need help financially, there are lots of qualified advisors out there who can help you save more money and reduce debts and develop a plan.
But how do you encourage someone, though? What would you say to those watching going, oh, yeah, yeah, I will? That the bottom line for them to take away, that the biggest lesson?
Well, sometimes it takes something serious in your life to get motivated. It sounds awful, but it does. You know, it's so easy to just let life roll, and until something serious happens. So some people, you know, their eyes awaken because they got divorced or they lost a job. This is a common one these days, or they made a bad investment. But at the end of the day, you got to get motivated to take stock and get a plan going. And if you've procrastinated on that very simple matter, then go get some help. Go online, go figure out how you're going to get a plan going moving forward.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You don't want to wait until you're like, oh my goodness. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure as always.